How do we get ready? Martin Luther said this. He says, I have but 2 days on my calendar, today and the day of the judgment seat of Christ. That's a pretty good motivator. Martin Luther was a pretty wild fellow. He tried everything. He knew he was such a great sinner. He used to do self-flagellation. He would beat himself with a whip, trying to make himself stop sinning. He used to sleep on a cold stone floor in a cell. In fact, in the Augustinian monastery where he was a monk, he got so sick, he would not eat for days. He would sleep on the floor. He would beat himself and have infections from that. All because he was so totally aware of his great sinfulness. When he came to Christ, he realized it was not flagellation. It wasn't self-mutilation. It wasn't starvation. It wasn't a physical effect that he needed to perform on himself. It was a spiritual one. And when he received the grace of Jesus Christ, when he received salvation, then his whole paradigm, his whole operating system changed, and he realized that every day was preparatory for the day he was going to answer for his life. And so this great statement that we have. Well, how do we do that? Well, God has a plan, and we're going to be reminded of that. God's plan of the ages has 7 events. The first event is the rapture. You say the rapture. Yeah, you don't hear about that much anymore. Dave Hunt wrote the great book, Whatever Happened to Heaven. It's so nice in America, we don't want to think about heaven. In fact, I have a lot of people that they hope that things get better and that stuff doesn't mess up too much overseas or in the Middle East because the life here is so great. But God says there's a rapture. And after the rapture, for each one who knows Christ is his judgment seat. And that's where we are in 2 Corinthians chapter 5. And the rapture, word rapture is not used in the Bible. It's actually a Latin word, rapturos. People are enraptured by music. They're kind of taken out from where they are and elevated to a new place. Actually, the Greek word that's used in the Bible is harpazo, which comes from the same concept as a harpoon, where you throw something in rapidly and pull it back. Harpooning. God is going to harpoon the world and pull out his people. He's going to harpazo them, and that's a fascinating concept. What should those 2 events mean to us? What are the messages? Well, the rapture means we should be ready. If you listen to Christ's parables closely, especially his closing parables, in Matthew 25 especially, he keeps saying, be ready, for in such an hour as you think not, the Son of Man's coming. Be ready. When the Son of Man comes and then you are living in wild dissolution, you're going to be kind of unhappy. Be ready. So the concept and the whole idea of the bridegroom coming in the middle of the night and the lamps are supposed to be trimmed and lit. Be ready. He comes unexpectedly. John, the apostle, who was the apostle that loved the Lord and was so intimate with him, the one who leaned on Christ's chest at the meals, and this unknown moment when Christ would return so descended on John's life that when he wrote 1 John, he says, I don't want to be ashamed before you at your coming. I want to, if you come when I'm not expecting it, I don't want to be caught red-handed. I don't want to be caught doing anything that would bring despot to your name. The judgment seat of Christ has a second lesson for us. We should be holy. Not only be ready for when he comes, but the track record of our life. See, we can not be ashamed before him at his coming if we keep close accounts and short accounts with the Lord and keep confessing our sins and receiving his cleansing. But the problem is at the judgment seat of Christ, he is going to map out our entire life. And do we want to have all of that wasted life that we were living in sinfulness? And so we must be holy. Why? What's the motivator for holiness? What did Paul use to get these Corinthians on the straight and narrow way? He used the idea of the judgment seat. And we're going to examine that more in depth.